Welcome back to another episode of Local Search Tuesdays. We're still here in Vegas at Digital Dealer, so you know what that means? It's the second half of my presentation. So, shared the first half of my presentation recently, last week, maybe the week before. I'm kind of jet lagged because I just got back from London before I came here to Vegas, so I'm not quite sure what the schedule is. I'm just shooting the intro for you, so, just roll with it. But today we're sharing the second half of my presentation from the Digital Dealer Conference here in Las Vegas. So it's about 40 to 45 minutes long. Kick back, get ready, enjoy. This is the Michael Myers Guide to Killing Your Competition with Automotive SEO, Part 2. You already know who I am. You're watching my video series. You've already heard me do the intro shtick before, so you know the bullet points kill kittens, and we're keeping the cute little kitties safe today. Today we're talking horror movies. It's the second half of my presentation from Digital Dealer. Across the entire presentation, we had 175 references to horror movies with at least one movie for every year in the last 50 years, and there is attribution to the side. So if there's a movie you haven't seen, you'll have a kick-ass list of movies to go watch after you finish watching the video here. And don't worry if you're not a fan of horror movies, the scariest thing that you'll see today is the 80s fashion. So why the long face? Do you need a hand getting your site to show up better in search results? Lucky for you, I've got a few to spare. I know a lot of times when you're thinking about SEO, you feel like you're going to lose your head because there's so many moving pieces and so much to do, but really, you don't have to bend over backwards to get great visibility in search results. I've got a lot of awesome tips today that are going to rock your faces off and help you make sure that your dealership websites turn a lot of heads. So let's talk about SEO and how to optimize your digital footprint. If we boil Google down to the simplest concept, it's really just an advanced pattern detection algorithm, a program that detects and classifies patterns. So when you do SEO, you're giving your dealership website a more attractive pattern. Doing SEO also helps improve the user experience on your site so that it converts better because it's easier to use. We know that people are going to shop around before they buy. So you've got to have better information and a better experience on your site so that people will remember you. In other words, you want to give people a better reason to visit your site and to return to your site. If you've got the same generic BS content as all the other dealerships in town, why would anybody care and why would anybody remember you? Your website needs to make it clear to everyone in the area why you're awesome, why they should buy from you, and why they shouldn't buy from competitors. If we think about it at a very simple level, if you want to show up as a search result when somebody types in a particular search phrase in Google, you need a page of content on your website that's about that concept. And that page needs to be the best answer in the local area to the question that the searcher is asking. And if you're writing the best answer, you're also going to answer subsequent questions that they would potentially have after they get the initial answer. It's also important that your content is actually about your dealership and why you're unique and why you're awesome and about the local area. And there's a really easy way to test this. Take your About Us page or your homepage of your website. And let's say you're located in Dallas, and we're going to try to switch this content over to a website for a same brand dealer in Seattle. So every time your dealership name appears and every time Dallas appears, you change it to the name of a dealership in Seattle and you change Dallas to Seattle. You only change those two things. Could you then take that About Us page content or homepage content and put it on that dealership's website on the other side of the country? And would it still work? If it would, that means your content isn't really about you or the local area. You should also test your content by reading it out loud. Everything that's on your site should sound conversational, like something that you would say face-to-face to somebody that just walked in the front door of your dealership. When you read it out loud physically to another person, your ears catch those turns of phrase that sound awkward and not conversational that your marketing brain probably thinks are great. Years ago, I had a Ford dealer come up and ask for help after Digital Dealer, and I'm going to forever kick myself for not taking a screen capture of his homepage content. But basically, the content sounded something pretty close to this. If you want to buy a Ford pickup in Dallas, come to our Ford pickup headquarters, where we sell more Ford pickups than any other dealership in Dallas that sells Ford pickups. So when you're ready to buy your next Ford pickup, come on down to our Ford pickup headquarters in downtown Dallas, and we'll give you the best deal on a Ford pickup of any dealership in Dallas that sells Ford pickups. So the guy that wrote that was thinking, holy crap, guys, we're going to rank so well for Ford pickups in Dallas. But every human that read that was thinking, what the heck is wrong with these guys? If you're not reading these things out loud, you don't hear how awkward they sound. Once you've written this amazing content, that's the best answer in the local area, that also answers other subsequent questions, that's also all about you and the local area, you need to optimize it so that it's easy for Google to understand what it's about. So I'm going to run you through the page elements that you need to optimize. Now, across each of these page elements, you need the same targeted keyword phrase and the same city location phrase. Don't mix it up. Don't use multiples. Use the same thing every time. The first most important element on the page, the most weighted in the algorithm, is the title tag. It's what shows above where you type in your URL in the little tab in the browser. It's also what usually populates the blue text in your link when you show up as a search result in Google. So you need your targeted keyword phrase and your city in the title tag. The second most important element is the H1 heading. That's the big thick headline above the text area on your site. Could you have more than one H1? You can, but that's not the right way to do it. You should only have one on the page. It should be a bit more conversational and have the same keyword phrase and same location phrase. Obviously, you need it in the page content, but if you've written that amazing answer that has all the subsequent questions, that's all about you and all about the local area, you won't have to really optimize anything here. All of the website platforms today allow you to set custom URLs for the interior pages in your site. So it's always better to have that keyword phrase and location phrase included in the actual text of the URL. You also need it in the alt text of your image. Now, image alt text is something that used to be a lot more important to the algorithm because Google couldn't understand what was in an image. But now machine learning allows Google to understand what's in the image, but alt text is still part of the algorithm. And it's something that most other dealerships don't do anything with. So it's a great way to outpace your competitors. It's also an important issue because ADA compliance laws state that any website that has images need to have alt text so that those images are accessible to anyone with any level of ability. If someone is blind and they're using a browser that's a screen reading browser, that browser can't tell what's in the image and it will read the alt text. So you're actually open to lawsuits from blind people or visually impaired people if you don't have alt text on your images. So you want to do it to avoid lawsuits as well. You also need that keyword phrase and location phrase in the meta description, which is behind the scenes code, but it's what populates those couple of gray sentences underneath your blue link when you show us a search result in Google. So it's important to approach it more like an ad and write something compelling because it doesn't matter for the algorithm for ranking. It's just there as a visual cue. So if the keyword and city are in the phrase or in the search phrase and also in the meta description, then they will be bolded in the meta description, which makes it stand out a bit more and help you get more click-throughs. You've also got to have a blog and you need to post to your blog on a regular basis. And the reason that this is important is because there's a huge difference between the kind of content that goes on the main section of your site and the kind of content that goes on your blog. Main website content is bottom of funnel content. It's meant to show up and get people to convert and drive leads. Content on your blog is more mid to early funnel content that's there more for discovery. You want eyeballs on your dealership as early as possible to increase the chances that people are going to come back and convert at a later date. So you shouldn't expect to get leads from your blog content. It's there to get eyeballs on your site so that they'll hopefully return later and convert at that point. You can also get even more visibility by making your blog a local destination and sharing helpful, useful, interesting information that's just about the local area and has nothing to do with what you sell. It's a billboard effect. You don't put a billboard up expecting that everyone that sees the billboard is going to buy from you. It's there for brand awareness. Same thing with localized blog content. You get noticed by potential customers before they're looking to buy because you've got content that's showing up in searches for other things. If you're not quite sure how to do this, I've got a really awesome video in my series that outlines 10 different concepts that you can use as springboards to come up with your own awesome local content. Another important issue to talk about on content is dealers always want to show up in nearby cities or sometimes cities that aren't even that nearby. But before you go and try to create content to target other locations, you need to make sure that you own your backyard first. And this concept just means you need to have a solid enough foundation of SEO that you are dominating the search results in the city where you're actually located before you go try to show up in other cities. Because if you don't have enough good content and good optimization to show up well in the city where you actually have a physical location, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to outrank competitors in other cities that you don't even have a location in. So let's talk about another important signal area, which is links from other websites that point to your website. They're heavily weighted in Google's algorithm. And because we're talking about the local algorithm, you need to be getting local links. That's links from local businesses and local websites. Now, link building is a lot more difficult. So you either need a dedicated staff member that handles your SEO. And I'm not talking about an internet manager or a marketing manager that also does some SEO stuff. I'm talking your dealership or your group needs to have a dedicated SEO staff member that their entire full-time job is doing SEO if you want to be successful at link building, or you're probably going to need to work with a vendor partner. The problem, though, is most automotive SEO vendors don't do any link building whatsoever. But here's the thing. If you get involved in the local community, it's actually super easy to get awesome local links. So I'm going to run you through a couple of concepts that you can use to get some really awesome local links. And the first is local sponsorships. Now, Google's not okay with you buying a link, but Google's totally okay with you getting a sponsorship that results in a link. And this is a really easy thing to do. Little league teams, Pee Wee football, Pee Wee hockey, highway cleanup, 5Ks, golf tournaments, any of these are opportunities to get awesome links. And meetups are great as well. You can use a site like meetup.com to look for local regular meetings that are happening and just look for people that are looking for meeting sponsors. And you can throw in 50, 60 bucks a month to buy their snacks and their soft drinks, and you get some killer local links out of it. Find any way that you can to get local bloggers to write about you. Even if they say something like, hey, I got a free oil change to write about my experience at the dealership, who cares? You still get an awesome link out of it. Now, this isn't what your dealership does for clubs and organizations. It's what your staff does. So talk to your team, see what they're passionate about, see what they do in their free time. What are their hobbies? What are their passions? Especially if someone is on the leadership group of a local club or organization, it's going to be very easy to get your dealership linked from that website. So look for people that are really involved in church, people that have kids on club soccer teams or club sports teams. Maybe somebody's the president of the local Corvette car club or whatever that might be. So find out what employees are doing and leverage those relationships. Neighborhood watch sites are another good one. So most of the neighborhood crime watch groups have somebody in the neighborhood that says, hey guys, I can do WordPress, and they put up a WordPress site and then they need content. If you can give them anything worthwhile, you get some killer links out of it. So typically what we like to do is offer a neighborhood exclusive special. So anybody in the neighborhood gets that special, you get a really killer local link out of it that's relevant down to the neighborhood level. So it's amazing. You can also use Google to do your work for you. So just throw your city name in and do a search for potential things you might want to do to get some links. And you can have Google spit out a bunch of results that you can go talk to or go do research on, at least, to find out what opportunities are out there. And notice the top two that are in blue and they have in URL : that's called a search operator. It's like a search filter for Google. So in this case, if we were saying Dallas, we would say Dallas in URL sponsorships. That would look for Dallas-based websites that in the actual page address has the word sponsorship. So it helps you kind of hone in on more specific, better results. You can also use our onboarding questionnaire. Every time we start working with a new dealer, we send out this link questionnaire that helps discover some low-hanging fruit and prioritize opportunities. So I'm sharing it with you today. You can just download it at the link right there. Next, let's talk about reviews from customers. And obviously, reviews are important for humans to attract more people by word of mouth, but they're also really weighted in Google's local algorithm. Most importantly, you've got to be proactive. You've got to ask every single customer to leave a review, and you need to make it easy for people to leave a review. Definitely watch this video, but I'm going to pull out a couple of important points. The make it easy bit is key because most people don't really understand where to go to leave a review on Google. So we like to set up a page on the website, typically at dealership.com/reviews. And we like to have a thank you message there. Thank you message is quick, brief, easy. Says something like, hey, thanks for doing business with us today. Let us know how we did. And then it gives them links to your different review profiles so they can click and go leave the review very easily. Here's another important thing to understand. If customers tend to leave a significant number of reviews that include the keywords you're trying to show up for, you'll actually start to show up better for those searches. So you really want to try to get those keywords in the reviews. Now, this is the customer review, not your response to the review, but you can't tell people what to write because it's against the rules in Google. But you can Jedi mind trick them with just a few simple questions. So on that thank you page, if you ask a couple of questions and put a little note in that says, hey, if you're not sure what to write, the best reviews offer details and helpful tips. Here's some questions to consider. Now, I listed several here, but you really only want to pick 2 or 3. But notice that first one. Did you buy a new car or a used car? If you have that question there and everybody reads it before they write their review, typically most people are going to write used car in their review if they bought a used car. So it's really helpful. You want to make sure you're responding to every single review that happens. Not just the good, not just the bad, but every review that you get. And remember, when you're responding to the bad reviews, your response is not for the person that left the review. It's for every potential customer in the future that reads your reviews and wants to see how you handled the situation. So let's finish with Google Business Profiles, the horribly renamed version of Google My Business. Your Google Business Profile is your new homepage. It's the new first impression that you make with potential customers. They don't have to go to your website to get your phone number or your address or to see pictures or to read testimonials or any of that stuff. They can do it all in your business profile. So you've got to make sure it's a great first impression. It's also what allows you to show up in the map pack and in searches in Google Maps. So incredibly important to optimize it well. Make sure you use your actual business name. Don't add additional keywords because that can get you suspended. Make sure you're selecting all of the relevant categories. Don't pick things that don't really match what you do just because you're trying to shove in extra categories. There are more than 10 categories that apply to service, more than 10 for parts, and more than 10 for sales. So pick the right categories. Plepper Tools has an awesome interactive list at the link right there, where if you enter a single category, it will show you the other categories that are most often selected along with the category that you chose. You should definitely have a separate Google Business Profile for your parts department and for your service department. And when you set all of these up, it's really important not to mix the categories between the departments. Sales on sales, parts on parts, service on service. When you start mixing them up, it hurts your visibility. You can also use George Nenny's awesome GMB Spy plugin for Chrome to check which categories your competitors have chosen. It's important to be strategic with the category that you choose first. That primary category carries a little bit more weight, so you want to be strategic. Watch the video. The video really dives in a lot more. You want to make sure you're uploading a lot of high quality photos. Most dealers will upload 2 or 3 photos and then never come back. Make sure you're uploading photos on a regular basis that are awesome. Make sure you list a phone number with a local area code. This is a huge signal to Google, but that doesn't mean you can't do call tracking. It's totally okay to do call tracking. Use a local area code tracking number, but list it as the primary number, so that's what the public sees. And then put your actual local number as one of the alternate numbers, so Google's algorithm sees consistency with all of the other sites out there. It's incredibly important to add correctly formatted UTM tracking to your website link and to any other links like appointments, so that you can correctly attribute all of the increased organic visits from your SEO efforts. Attribution is broken in Google Analytics, and a lot of times traffic, especially on mobile devices, doesn't get correctly attributed in Google Analytics. If referral information isn't passed over, which happens on mobile, then Google Analytics will classify the traffic as direct instead of organic. So if you add in this UTM code to the end, then it will correctly force everything to be attributed or as organic. Now, some sources out there will tell you to put UTM source equals Google, but it's better not to use Google as the source so that you can easily see the separation between people that clicked on an organic link in Google in the standard 10 blue links and people that clicked in the map pack on your website or on your Google Business Profile or on your link in Google Maps. If you use Google as a source, you're going to have to drop down secondary dimensions to correctly see what's what. So it's better to not use Google. You want to make sure you're using Google Posts on a regular basis. They're basically free ads that appear in your Google Business Profile, and you need to approach them as such. I did a Whiteboard Friday episode for Moz last year, and it's packed. It's 15 minutes of awesome information about how to be successful with Google Posts. So go check that out. Make sure that you're not treating Google Posts like social media. It is not social media, so don't share the same junk that you would share on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of that stuff. Never share delivery photos. People don't care that there's a customer standing next to a car. That's something you share on social, not something you put in a post. And never use a specific vehicle as a Google post. Posts should always be promotionally focused. It should be some sort of a special that's going to entice people to click through. Single videos or single vehicles will not do that. And the key to success is looking at what shows up in the post thumbnail. You can put a whole lot of text and a big image or even multiple images in the post, but nobody ever pays attention to what's in the thumbnail. And the thumbnail is a cropped version of the photo and just a few lines of text. If the post thumbnail is not compelling, nobody's going to click on it and nobody will see the full post. And that's why you're not getting great results. The problem, though, is thumbnail cropping is really inconsistent and wonky. So it's difficult to make sure that the car shows well and that half the vehicle's not cropped out or half of your text isn't cropped out. So for better control over what shows up in those thumbnails, I created a Photoshop guide. You can download it at the link right there. And when you look at it, it looks like this. Everything inside of the white grid will show in the thumbnail, and then the rest of the image will show when the full post is viewed. You also need to pay attention to the questions and answers section in your Google Business Profile, which has actually been around for several years, but most people don't realize that it's even there. It allows anybody to ask you a question, and it allows any random person to answer that question for you, and that should terrify you. Customers actually think that it's some sort of an instant messaging or chat widget and that somebody's on the other end live waiting to answer questions, but that's not how it works. It's really just community discussion. And questions can receive multiple answers. So whichever answer has the most thumbs up or the most upvotes is the one that's displayed as the primary answer. So it's important to pay attention and make sure that your dealership answers remain upvoted to always show as the primary answer. And you can even load your own questions in. A lot of people don't realize that this is possible and actually that it's encouraged by Google. So you want to set up a pre-site FAQ page. No one's going to go to your dealership website and browse through the 50 FAQ questions on the page to see if any of them match the question they might have. When they can click ask a question and just ask their question in your Google Business Profile. And the really cool thing is, if a similar question has been asked and answered in the past, as they start to type in their question, Google will auto-complete their question and supply an answer automatically, which makes it an amazing pre-site experience and great first impression. You want to see some fun examples here at the end? There are some really fun examples. So we see this all the time. Obviously, this is blown up a little bit on the screen, but the question button that you click to ask a question is literally maybe 1.5 inches away on the screen from the phone number. But we see people all the time saying, hey, what's your phone number? Because again, they think it's chat. Even though the phone number is right there, and even though the website link is right there, and they could go to the website and get the phone number, they think it's chat. And notice in this case, it was an overheating engine, and the dealership didn't respond, so they missed out on that repair job. Or this one, hey, your website sucks. And their website was so bad, somebody even said, yeah, I'm not a fan of it, which obviously probably means they were on dealer.com, but we'll move on. I was doing an event for Stellantis dealers in Austin, Texas at Google headquarters, and I like to pull up localized examples, so I pulled this one up to talk about the upvoting system. So the question is, does South Point have a body shop? And the answer is, don't go here, look at their reviews. I had a horrible experience with them. They lie to you and everybody else, but notice there are 6 more answers, and the dealership answer was much better. And notice when the dealership answers, it has owner in parentheses. Now, when I finished, someone came up to me and said, hey, I work there. And I said, oh my gosh, sorry, I wasn't trying to embarrass you. And they said, no, not a problem. How do we fix it? And we just grabbed 3 people in the front row, had them go to the dealership's Google Business Profile on their phones and click thumbs up on this answer. Because notice when I did the screen captures, there's no thumb up on the dealership answer, and there's 1 thumb up on the answer that's displayed as primary. So once you had those 3, boom, immediately the dealership answer became the primary answer to the question. And this was for a conference in Boston, and it was at a really old hotel, and the room numbers were very confusing and not ordered consistently. And so someone asked on the questions and answers, how are the room numbers ordered? And this jackhole says alphabetically. And obviously that's funny and we laugh at it, but it really was confusing. And that's not a great first impression experience for potential customers of the hotel. And this last one here is my favorite example of all time. It's for the London Eye, the big Ferris wheel on the Thames River in downtown London. The answer has since been changed because the guy thinks he's a comedian, I guess, but the question has been upvoted as well. So questions can be upvoted and they will replace the standard questions and answers link and show that primary question in your business profile. So it's been upvoted and the question is, do you have to wear a helmet? And the answer was, you don't have to, but you can if you wish. I believe Viking helmets are a popular choice, which pretty funny. Now the guy's changed it and now it says, yes, I almost fell out 3 times, which isn't anywhere near as funny. Plus, it's a completely enclosed little car that you're in, so you can't fall out. So I just don't think that's as funny. But if you load your own questions, answer your questions, and keep your questions answers upvoted to be the primary answers, it's an awesome pre-site FAQ experience that looks just like this. If you use all of these tactics and layer all of the tactics with a customized strategy specifically for your store, you're going to get awesome results. Whenever you're doing SEO, remember it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. The things that you're doing today are affecting your visibility several months down the road. So you should expect to start to see traction at about 6 months and start to really see good results at around 12 to 13 months of doing good SEO. So thanks so much for taking the crazy roller coaster ride with me today. Hopefully now when you're talking about SEO, you're not going to feel like a basket case because I've opened your eyes to the power of awesome SEO. And I've given you the key to success so that you'll have the hook to attract more customers and you can break out of your shell and do better marketing and everyone will be happy. That was the Michael Myers Guide to Killing Your Competition with Automotive SEO. There's my email address if you have any questions or you'd like a copy of the slides. Please just pop me an email. And as always, at the end, there is a list of all of the movies by order of release date. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for sticking around to watch the entire presentation. That's definitely all the time we've got left for today. So, you know what that means. Put your hand on the screen right here. We totally just high-fived because you learned something awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week for another episode of Local Search Tuesdays.